Right, I think I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Cool. Let's rock and roll. In this week's episode, I chat to Andy Irvine. Andy is currently planning a charity ride on a bicycle from Cairo to Cape Town to raise money for the Qhubeka Bicycle Project. He's previously cycled all the way around South Africa as well as from South America up to Canada. In this episode, he tells us about those previous experiences as well as his plans for the up-and-coming trip. All systems go. So Andy, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here. We've never met before, but I heard a story that you're going to be riding from Cairo down to Cape Town soon, and thought I'd have you on the podcast and so we can chat about that. But you've got a bit of a backstory to all of this. So you're going to be cycling on a bicycle. So where did it all start with bicycles?
I used to race bicycles on the road for about 5 years. I raced all over South Africa. And I overtrained and got sick, so I stopped racing. When I stopped racing, I very slowly sort of started putting on weight. And after a year or two, I thought, none of my clothes are fitting. I need to get a grip on this. And the racing didn't appeal to me again at that point, and I looked at bicycle touring. And for my annual leave, for 4 years on the trot, for a month, I cycled around South Africa. I've toured every province in South Africa. I've bicycled to Lesotho, Swaziland. And I decided I wanted to go big and do the real thing.
Yeah.
And I looked at cycling across Canada, which has always appealed to me. I've never been to Canada. And I thought to myself, well, it's a big country. And I looked at the miles and I thought, I'm going to have to resign. I'm not going to do that in my annual leave. I need to resign from work. And the sort of decision to do that, I thought, well, if you're going to resign from work, you may as well go big.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the whole of the Americas. And I started in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro in June 2018. And in 15 months, I pedaled 17,500 kilometers. I went Uruguay, Argentina. I went right through the Andes, Colombia, all the way through Central America, all the way up the west coast of America into Canada. So it's 17 countries, 17,500 kilometers. And life-changing. And
yeah, that's amazing. So you said you were working. What sort of work were you doing?
my whole life, I've been involved in engineering.
Okay.
I'm originally from England and emigrated as a sheet metal worker by trade. That's how I got out here. I used to run a sales office for a sheet metal fabrication company. And it was a Durban company. I ran the Johannesburg sales office. And yeah, when it was time to sort of take the trip, obviously I had to resign. I rented my flat out, put my furniture in storage.
Yeah.
And then on the trip, you do a lot of thinking about a lot of things. And I decided when I went back, I was 50. I actually turned 50 when I was in Mexico.
Wow.
And you do a lot of thinking. And I thought for the future, I don't want to go back to my old job and my old industry. I wanted something different. And it's sort of bicycles, tourism, that sort of thing. And
yeah,
I got a job in a bicycle shop in Johannesburg, in Edenvale, actually, where I live. And I've been there. But the sort of desire to travel again and bicycle ride again is there.
Yeah.
And so the next one's going to be Cairo to Cape Town.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to ask you just a little bit closer to the microphone. That'll be great. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. You be comfortable.
Yep,
you can move the chair in a bit.
Yep.
Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
That's great. Because just every now and again you dropped out there, but it's fine.
Gotcha.
All good.
Thanks.
So you said you were originally from the UK, right?
Yes.
How long you been in South Africa?
I emigrated as soon as I finished my apprenticeship. So
Okay.
I was 21 when I
Okay.
moved out here. I actually moved to Durban originally. Yes, yeah.
Oh, right. So you still haven't lost your accent, eh? I'm amazed.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there. So it's
You've been here more than 30 years in South Africa, eh?
yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, it'll be about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. And then you said you were riding competitively in South Africa, or
Yes,
did you do that internationally as well?
Just in South Africa, yeah.
Just in South Africa.
Yeah.
And what's that like to be a competitive cyclist in South Africa?
I love it. I love racing. I've always loved competing. I when I wasn't racing, I've done a lot of running in my time. I've alternated between running and cycling ever since I was sort of came to this country, and that's what I like about the country is the outdoor, the weather, which allows you the outdoor sort of lifestyle.
Sure.
That's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, because so you said when you wanted to do this trip overseas to cycle, and you said you were going to start. You started in South America, right?
Yes.
So, like, what sort of preparation did you have to do? We're talking about weather. You don't have a sense of what the weather's going to be like in those countries. Had you been there before to those countries?
I've been to Brazil and Argentina at Christmas, and the reason I don't live in England is because of the weather. If England had proper weather, I would still live there.
Sure.
So my sort of description of my planning was to avoid harsh weather. My finish line was Canada, and was to get out of there before winter.
Yeah.
And I started in Rio de Janeiro because it was winter. It was in the southern hemisphere, but Brazil is a bit like Durban. It doesn't really have a proper winter.
Okay.
So I was able to dodge a lot of the winters. When I was in Uruguay, south of Brazil, I had a lot of rain. But then as I rode across the pampas of Argentina, it dried out. Going through the Andes, it was hard. It was really hard. It's cold. You're 4,000 or 5,000 meters above sea level.
Sure.
And it's cold and it's wet. But I wasn't there in the harshest of it.
Okay.
And then when you drop down in Colombia, you drop out of the Andes, and then it's tropical. And Central America was the other way. It was insanely hot. It was.
Oh wow.
It was touching 40 degrees and humidity like I've never known in my life.
Even in Durban.
Even in Durban, it was nowhere near. Durban comes nowhere near to what I had there. I'd buy water a gallon at a time, and you just couldn't drink enough. It was incredible. But but I would have that over snow. You know what I mean? So and then as I say, I got up to going up the west coast, and I reached Canada sort of got out in September again. It was cold enough. It was wet.
Yeah.
I got wet again. You know, in sort of Washington State and Canada, I had plenty of rain.
Okay.
And that was long before winter. So I was able to get out before the
Great.
the real.
So you
winter.
landed up in Vancouver when you.
I finished in Vancouver. Yes.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Huh?
Yeah.
Because
Beautiful
it is wet on that side.
Yeah. It's
Almost like Cape Town, or not really.
Colder and more rain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there and chatting to people who live there. You know, it's dark and grey for 9 months out of 12.
We're in Vancouver.
In Vancouver,
really?
Yeah. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful city, really clean, and rivers and parks and things. But the weather again, it's a non-starter for me to live there.
Yeah, because like when I think of Seattle, I just think of rain.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same as Seattle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's relatively close. It's relatively close. I think
That's
I think it was a 2 or 3 day bike ride from Seattle to Vancouver. Yeah, very close.
Oh, that's cool. So, I mean, going back to when you made this decision to go across there, you said you were cycling competitively. You had overdone it.
Yes.
How did you overdo it?
I was racing. I remember it was 2010. I was racing very well in the first half of the year, and then we had the 2010 Football World Cup, where I took a bit of a break, and the World Cup was on, etc. And I got going again to sort of ramp up for the the 94.7 at the end of the year, and my performances were going backwards. So you train harder, and then they go backwards a bit more. So you train harder even still. And I had a terrible second half of the year. And that Christmas, I went to England to visit my parents, and I contracted swine flu.
Oh.
And I was put in an isolation ward for 5 days.
Wow.
And they ran a lot of tests on me. They were surprised I contracted swine flu. It's, elderly people, pregnant women, youngsters. And I didn't fit the profile at all.
Yeah.
And the tests said that I'd run my immune system down to 0. And I knew at that point this was self-inflicted. Yeah. This is not why I'm riding a bike. This is not why I'm racing. It's the exact opposite. And at that point, I sort of retired from racing.
Yeah, sure. And, so then you took a couple of months off to recuperate?
You slowly sort of. I stopped training, and then you go back to work. There's bills to pay, and you go back to work. And and as I said, probably a year later, 2 years later, you realise your jeans don't fit anymore, and you need to put a stop to this. And so that's how. As I say, it was a gradual process that led me into sort of bicycle touring, and now it's a massive part of my life.
No, that's great. And then but like for instance, now you were saying that you would that you had overdone it when you were competitive and all that. How do you make sure that you don't do that when you're doing these long trips like you're talking about?
I've learned a lot about my body. I've learned a lot. I mean, I got sick on my trip now in going through the Andes and things. It's cold, it's wet. There's not much food up there. Nothing grows up there. so there's no fresh fruit and veg and things. And I got sick once or twice.
Okay.
And at that point, same thing. You just rest.
Okay.
You have to rest, And I hope I'm older and wiser than I was sort of 10, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And then, so like now when you decide that you want to do this trip, now you've got to start thinking about preparation. So there's the financial side of it. There's, what do you take with you? You were talking earlier on about carrying water. I would imagine you were carrying water with you. You're buying a gallon at a time. So what sort of preparations did you do for that first trip?
The first trip, it's amazing what's out there on the internet now. When you tell people that you're riding a bicycle the length of America, there's a bit of a shock and things. But when you look on the internet, it's all been done before.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of beaten paths. There's a lot of websites, etc. A lot of blogs out there. So you can do a lot of reading. And it becomes clear that it can be done, and it has been done, and people are doing it right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do your homework and you do your preparation. My next trip is going to be very different. My America's trip was very much about me going on an adventure and not hammering myself into the ground and trying to prove a point. It was about it. So I stayed in Rio. I landed in Rio. I think I spent a week in Rio before I even rode anywhere. You're in Rio.
Yeah.
When I got to Mendoza, I had 2 weeks off. Cartagena, Colombia, I had a week off. So there was plenty of resting in there, and whereas my Cairo to Cape Town, I've got a different agenda. I want to do it much quicker. I want to do it much faster. I want to do it much lighter. And this will be, there won't be a stove. I won't be cooking. It's going to be ultra lightweight, 1 or 2 sets of clothes. Saw the toothbrush in half to get the weight down. And it's going to be proper. It's a different agenda.
Yeah.
It's a different challenge.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. And the other side of it is this one I want to raise money for charity. I've hooked up with Qhubeka. I don't know if you know Qhubeka. It's a South African charity, and they build bicycles here in South Africa in Qhubeka, and they donate them to underprivileged areas. But the people, they don't just go out and hand out bicycles in a car park. The people have to earn them. So maybe have to plant crops, maybe have to paint a school, etc. So it creates jobs in South Africa. And it also, the bicycle allows people to get to work, to get to clinics, to get to school. If kids can ride bikes to school, they're less tired. They're going to get better grades. Do you know what I'm saying? They're going to get more sleep and so on and so on. So it obviously ties in cycling. And I've set myself a challenge of raising 360,000 rand, which equates to 100 bicycles. So yeah, this ride is not just for me. It's for charity. So I'm looking for exposure. I'm looking for sponsors. Whereas my previous tour wasn't about that. It was it was a different agenda, and this one's different. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you were talking about the previous one, like in terms of planning, like did you decide to stay in what, like hostels, backpackers, camping? What
everything?
Was your
Everything. Yeah. I was hosted many times by local people along the way. I had a tent. I stayed in hostels. I slept at petrol stations, bicycle shops, restaurants, bars. I slept wild. In the Andes again. Often you'd ride and you're not going to get to the next town. You're not going to get to the next village. So you sleep wild next to a river.
And do you feel safe doing that?
Yeah. I really do. It's the same as when I've ridden through South Africa. You're always told that the next town's a dangerous place. The next county or the next state is be careful. But I've only ever met friendly people, Andrew. I'm not lying to you. I've only ever met friendly people, and I think a lot of it is on a bicycle. You're not a threat to anyone.
Yeah.
When you ride through Mexico, you're on the roads that the drug barons control. And things like that. And you speak to local people, and they say, you don't go down there. Whatever you do, don't stay on that road and go that way.
Yeah.
Because in truth, the drug barons and the gangsters in El Salvador and things. A little gringo on a bicycle with a cell phone and a couple $100 is small change. It's not worth the hassle of getting sky cameras out there and think that. So, you're actually quite safe. Although it sounds silly. You're in a dangerous, almost a war zone. But I think a lot of it. You arrive at a place, you greet people with respect, and you smile. And there's more good out there than bad. That's what I've found. It's not even a theory. It's what I've found and have experienced. It's the same in South Africa. I've ridden through. As I say, all the provinces, and I only meet friendly people. That's all I do. I only meet friendly people.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear, because there is a lot of negativity out there about this country and other countries and all that.
Yeah.
That does put people off doing these kind of things.
Yeah.
Whether it's walking, cycling, riding motorcycles, or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
it is a bit negative.
We've
It's
got
nice
it.
to hear.
We've got it. Society, we've got it the wrong way around. What we should be doing, we should be encouraging more people to go walking. We should be encouraging more people to ride bicycles. Do you know what I mean? Not that it's just leave it to the few and hope they survive. It's people are inherently good. That's the truth. You know, we talk about death on the road and things like that. No one wants to kill someone, generally speaking. You know, but we need education, and we need everyone to realize that you know everybody would rather smile than to frown.
Yeah,
you know, that's the truth.
It's true. Yeah,
that's true. It doesn't matter who you are, how rich or poor, where you're from. That's the truth of a human being. And it's we overcomplicate things.
Yeah, let me just grab my water quickly. So, what was the best country that you went through on your last trip?
Colombia.
Yeah,
that's Colombia. It's got the, what can I say? It's got the reputation before you even get there. But for me, I've always wanted to go to Colombia, and but also the way my route was, I started in the Andes in Argentina, and I went through Bolivia. I got really sick, altitude sickness, badly. Took me a long time to get over that. And then you go through Peru, Ecuador, and it's hard, and you lose weight. I'm thin now. I was incredibly thin by the time I got out of the Andes. And the Andes, you go through Ecuador, and then you drop down in Colombia. That's when it's over. So mentally, you've got this monster behind you, and now you're heading for the Caribbean coast of Colombia. Do you know what I mean? Medellin, Cali, and these places. And the Colombian people, the South American people for that matter, but especially the Colombian people, they are the happiest people I've ever met.
Oh, really?
And they've got problems. They've got what can I say? Corrupt governments and history, etc., and poverty, and gangsters and drugs and things. But the people themselves, when you roll into a little village, the people wave and smile straight away.
Yeah.
They don't come over and try and sell you something and hassle you. They wave and smile, you know. And it's the same in the cities. You know, Medellin. I spent a week in Medellin, and people in Medellin, they don't want to talk about Pablo Escobar. That's the last thing they want to talk about.
Sure.
You know, it's like going to Germany and talking about Hitler. It's not what they want to talk about. You know, they've moved on. It happened, and the people just want to be happy. You know, there's music playing wherever you go. There's fresh fruit. There's beer. There's beautiful ladies, which always helps a country.
Oh yeah.
And the weather. It was Colombia. Head and shoulders. My favorite country that I've ever been to in my life. Colombia.
Yeah, and I've heard that before, so that's great.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you something now. I forgot. So you were talking about the altitude sickness. I mean, how did you deal with that? You just
that was something that, again, I read up on it before. And
did you like acclimatize yourself, go up and go down? Or
well, the thing is, you're going up on a bicycle, so you're not actually going up very quickly. Yeah. Compared to people flying to these places and people go on buses. You know, I was on a bicycle traveling at 16 kilometers an hour, so I wasn't gaining altitude that quickly. But I was very probably on a tired body, and it's only when you get to 3,000 meters and above that you can get altitude sickness. Yeah. And I got it the first time I went over. I went up to 3,900 and then down to 3,006. I booked into a hotel. It was the last town, I remember, it was the last town in Argentina before the Bolivian border, Abrapamba. And I went up to the hotel. It was a cheap hotel. And I came down something to eat, and I felt my head start to go. And I knew straight away what this was. And you hope it's going to go away, and it just got worse. And I cannot describe the pain to you, Andrew. I honestly thought my skull was going to break.
Really?
It is thumping.
Oh, no.
And I didn't speak very much Spanish at that point, and the lady in the hotel didn't speak much English, but she'd obviously seen a gringo with altitude sickness before. So she sort of points me down the road. There's a hospital 3 blocks away. And you walk down this road, and you've got no energy. Now you are weak. And you go into the hospital, and they lay you on a bed, and they put you on oxygen. And it's like if you can picture a beach ball deflating, your head is like that as you're breathing this pure oxygen. And it's like, oh, this is beautiful.
It's just like relief,
honestly. And then you lay there. I think I was there for half an hour, and they've only got so much oxygen there, so that's all you're getting. And then they don't charge you for it; it's free. Yeah. But then you're on your way, and by the time I got back to the hotel, my head's banging again. So you've just got to get out of there. It's the only way is to get down. You've got to get down in altitude. So I paid for 3 days, left my bicycle, my kit, and everything, and then I just jumped on a bus and I went back down below 3,000 meters.
Okay.
Stayed there for 3 days. I went back. But to cut a long story short, it took me 3 weeks to get rid of it. I never had that pain to the level, but I was weak and I had a headache for 3 weeks. Eventually, I got to La Paz, the capital of Bolivia, and which is 3,600 meters. And I stayed there for a week. And I said, I'm not leaving here until I feel human, because I can eat properly, I can rest. And then after that, I was fine. But when you read into it, again, it's a bit like seasickness. Some people get seasickness, some people don't. And fat people, thin people, doesn't matter. The only statistic that's a fact is that men get it more than women.
Oh, wow.
That's it. Fit people get it. Yeah, soldiers get it. It's altitude sickness. And I think I'm just one of those people who, if I never go that high again, I'll be quite happy. I've been there, done that. I don't need to go there again.
Yeah.
But
So how's your Spanish now?
By the time I left Mexico, it wasn't bad, because I'd been there for a year. I'd been in Latin America. Obviously, 6 weeks in Brazil, it's Portuguese, but the rest of it is Spanish.
Yeah.
And you're having the same conversation every day, introducing yourself, directions, accommodation, food.
Can I have
so
a
you,
beer?
you sort of,
Can I have a beer?
Dos gran cerveza, por favor.
Yeah.
You remember that sort of thing. And yeah, it's quite nice. It is nice to slowly, and it's obviously most of it disappeared now, but it is nice to communicate with people. And and again, the people, when you're in a little village in Nicaragua and you greet them in Spanish, that's all they need. The fact you've tried, you've tried.
Yeah.
You know, I think they get a lot of, particularly Central America, they get a lot of Americans coming down who just think they're stupid because they don't speak English. So when you make the effort, you've broken the ice.
Yeah, you've broken
the ice. You know, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's easy from there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but does it get easier once you can speak a bit of the lingo?
Yeah, definitely.
It does get
definitely, without doubt. Yeah, you can have a deeper conversation. You get better directions and things. So yeah.
Well, at least you understand the directions.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
So when you were doing that trip, you had in your mind that you needed to get to Canada. You want to be out of Canada by winter.
Yes.
As you're doing this trip, are you constantly thinking about, I've had a bit of a setback, that's messed my timeline up a bit, or did you just?
Yeah, you
weren't you worried about?
No,
that?
you just you're roughly heading in the right direction, and you know you're going to do it. You know what I mean? You unless you sort of broke a leg and couldn't ride again, you know you're going to do it. You know what I mean? And as I say, you keep riding, and I got there, and I think I spent 3 or 4 weeks in Canada. You know, so. But it was raining and it was getting worse.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do, my finish line, it's funny how you sort of set these little things for yourself. I wanted to watch ice hockey in Canada.
Oh, well done.
You know, and I love sport. I watched a lot of sport along the way, baseball and football in Brazil and so on. And that was my sort of finish line. Get to Canada, watch ice hockey, then I can go. And I can job done. And I managed to watch an ice hockey game and I flew out the next day. It was so yeah.
Oh, that's great.
A nice finish, yeah.
So what sort of distances would you generally do in a day?
The longest day I had would probably be about 130, 140 kilometers.
Okay.
Because you're not. It wasn't a race, you know, and it was a question of. I'm an early morning person, so you get up early and you ride, and I'd like to ideally get to the place by sort of lunchtime, so you can find somewhere to stay. Maybe you can have a mechanical. You don't be riding into town after dark, so you get there at lunchtime. You're beating the heat. Find somewhere to stay. Have a quick shower, a little walk around town, around the market, and experience a little bit of town. Maybe you want us to stay. This place looks interesting. I'm going to stay another day. Yeah. So it wasn't just the bicycle was just part of the trip. It wasn't about just riding a bike all day long and doing nothing else.
Yeah.
The Cairo trip's going to be different. It's going to be a more intense bike riding.
Yeah, sure.
Less of the tourist thing. But yeah, it's a different agenda altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes like when you do a bike ride, a motorcycle ride, you say, okay, I'm going to be staying there, and it's like 400 kilometers, and by lunchtime you've only done 100.
Yeah.
And then in the afternoon you have to do 300 because you've got to get to that B&B that you've booked or whatever.
Yeah.
So I learned a valuable lesson the first time I did a trip like that was that first of all, you don't book something like that, just wing it, and B, don't rush.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you get to a point where you're rushing it so much that you're actually not taking in the experience, and not taking photos and all that. So talking about that, did you journal or did you, were you taking photos, posting them on Instagram as you were doing these trips?
Yeah, I had Instagram. I wrote a blog as I was going. I would post, I would make notes on my phone, and then roughly between 800 and 1,000 words, I'd post it. So roughly once a week, I would put a blog up of about 1,000 words and maybe 30, 40 photographs, depending what I've been and what I've seen.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because it's there now. It's a diary that I even randomly flick on it myself now and just remember when I was where, and I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, that was exactly what I wanted to say, was that often, we do these things and we don't document them.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not about documenting it for someone else to see. Other people do enjoy seeing it, but it's for you to be able to reflect back on that and just say, hey, well, I did this trip. And because, when you're experiencing it, you think, oh, I'll remember this. But in a year's time, you've forgotten like some of the minor details.
I remember talking to myself. I talked to myself quite a lot actually on that trip. Believe me. But I was in California, going through the redwoods, and you're riding sort of Big Sur, the redwoods, and it's absolutely beautiful. But you've seen some absolutely beautiful things already.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to myself, I'm riding and saying, don't turn off. Absorb this. Look at this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to, check myself, particularly towards the end of the trip where you've just seen so much and done so much. And the blog helped me with that, because I would stop and I would take a picture and I would, do you know what I mean?
Like almost like forced you to take that moment.
It was sort of thinking, I better get a couple of pictures taken. And it was good. And it didn't feel like, work.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it. Yeah, I'm glad I did it. It did help me keep my focus on enjoying today.
That's great. And then when you did that trip, did people know that you were doing that trip? Did you tell your friends and whatever?
Yeah, I've written blogs even on my South African trips before.
Okay.
So I blogged before, and people like them. And before I went, people were saying, "Are you going to do a blog?" I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely going to do a blog." And one of the reasons, I won't lie, one of the main reasons was for my parents. So they could see I'm okay, and not just a phone call, I'm okay. They could see the pictures, see me enjoy myself and things. So I did that, and then the fact that your friends enjoyed them, workmates and things, that's a bonus. And obviously along the way you meet people. And the other thing that's nice is I got a lot of help from reading other people's blogs. So it's like a karma thing. You give back, you advise, you stayed at a nice place. There's a bike shop here. Do you know what I mean? So it's a
like a community that you
exactly sort of thing. Yeah.
And
And right now I'm reading blogs now of people who are in Egypt, people who are in Kenya right now. So and I will do the same and try and be helpful. And it's multi sort of serves multi purposes. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that trip, you were paying your own way. You didn't have any sponsors or anything like that.
Yes. Yeah.
How did you work out what your sort of daily budget was? And
you
is it also reading up on
South America? Yeah. South America is relatively cheap, even from a South African point of view. Bear in mind you've got no transport costs, and I was hosted a lot. And I camped a lot.
Yeah.
America and Canada was a different deal. I found America and Canada, I was consciously thinking about money. Every single meal, and as you said about accommodation, where am I going to sleep tonight?
Yeah.
Because you can't, there's a big homeless problem in America. You can't just pitch a tent like you can in Peru. And campsites could be $70 US for one night in a campsite.
Wow.
So that was a non-starter for me as well. I didn't have that type of money. In America, I remember there was a like a supermarket called Trader Joe's. I remember Trader Joe's, and I remember plotting on my map every Trader Joe from Los Angeles all the way to the border, because I need to call into Trader Joe's to stock up, because it's the cheapest place I can find food.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Whereas in Latin America, you're eating fresh mangoes for free. And it's beautiful, and the meat is beautiful and everything. In America, I was eating corned beef and spam, and and it was expensive. Even your Burger Kings and these things were expensive. So, yeah, America and Canada were hard from a financial point of view.
Yeah.
But I was away for 15 months. So, yeah, on the whole, it wasn't too expensive. But yeah, you have to cut your cloth.
Yeah,
accordingly.
sure.
Yeah.
So when I was chatting to this woman that's doing the Kinga, who's riding around the world on a motorcycle and everything, and she said you'd be actually surprised how inexpensive it is to travel like that. Because I can't remember what her budget was, but she just says because she's camping a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The only thing she really has to worry about is fuel on her bike.
Yeah.
And some food.
Yeah, that's it. And as I said, for me, you can rule out the petrol because I'm pedaling everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. You need the other petrol.
Yeah.
You need food.
You need two of those. You need liquid, but it's just a different liquid to petrol. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about your your trip that you're planning now.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to be. You're telling me now. When are you going to start that? You're going back to England for a bit?
Yeah, I finish work this Saturday, and then I'm looking at between sort of 4 and 6 weeks to sort of drum up some support, for sort of sponsorship, etc., and awareness really of what I'm going to do, and then I will go to England, probably mid April, beginning of April. I'll work there. Obviously, I've got the English summer then, so I can work and I can train. You know, it's going to be light 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So even if I'm working, I can still ride for 3 hours after work. And I need to be really fit for this one.
Yeah.
I need to be really fit. So the English summer, although people laugh about it, it gives me a better chance to train and do that than the Joburg winter.
Sure.
And I do want to spend time with my parents. That's the truth as well.
Yeah.
I've always said I want a summer with my parents. I'm 50 years old. I've still got both my parents. So I don't want to procrastinate on this one. I need to make it happen. It's another thing I've always wanted to do. So do that, and then September, out to Cairo, and then pedal my way down. I'm hoping to get to Joburg in about 80 days because I want to do the 94.7.
Okay.
And then do the 94.7 cycle race, and then ride on to Cape Town. I think if I can get here in time to do the 94.7, I really think by then I've ridden through Africa, come in from Botswana, visit Qhubeka, which is the Qhubeka factory where they make the bicycles, visit the people there, ride on to Joburg. I think then I should be able to get some real media interest, which will really help the sponsorship for the charity.
Yeah.
And then ride down to Cape Town and have a rest when I get to Cape Town. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you started engaging with people about sponsorship, or?
Yeah, I've started with. I've got some. My friend Derry is helping me put some promotional material together.
Mm-hmm.
We've been contacting a few people. We've got a few meetings lined up. But obviously, once I finish work on Saturday from next week, then I can meet people. I think it's one of these things you need the face to face if you're expecting people to
buy into
it. Yeah. I think they've got to meet me. I've got to tell my story.
Mm.
And I do believe also people can get good mileage from it, good exposure from it. I mean,
Sure.
the bicycle that I ride is going to ride through Africa. You know, the kit that I use is going to be put to the test.
Sure.
You know, and I'm going to be blogging and I'm going to be sending photos. And if the kit does what it's supposed to, I think it can be a great advert.
Yeah.
For
talking about the equipment, are you using your own bicycle, or have you got a sponsored bicycle?
I'm looking. I've actually got several bicycles, but none of them are suitable for what I want to do. For this trip, I'm looking at my previous touring bicycle was that I used in the Americas. Is almost made of scaffolding. It's a strong steel bike. It's sturdy. It's bulletproof. It had a hard life. It was heavily loaded. The next trip that I'm doing is going to be much lighter. The overall weight will be half the weight. And I'm looking at going almost twice as fast and twice as long. So I'm looking at sort of a gravel bike.
Okay.
And as I said, ultra lightweight pack. And so that's something that I need to sort out. Hopefully, a sponsor can come on board and
help you after that.
We can put a bike to the test.
Yeah.
In real time.
In real time, like you said, yeah. And then, okay, what kits are you planning to take with you? So you got the bicycle.
It's going to be literally the basics of clothing.
Yeah.
Obviously a helmet, glasses. I'll have a water filter. I'm particularly Sudan and Egypt at the beginning. It's going to be water issues. I fully expect to be drinking out of the Nile. So I want a good water filter. I'd like good medical cover. Because of where I'm going. A lightweight tent. Everything just ultra lightweight. Lightweight tools. Clothing's going to be literally the basics. I'm probably going to have one set of clothing that I'll wear the whole time. Yeah. And keep it light and keep it fast.
And then and you said you're going to do it a lot quicker. You want to do it in 80 days. Yeah. So have you how did you work out 80 days was a realistic, a good challenge? Put it that way.
It'll give me. I'm looking at about between 140 and 160 k's a day.
Okay.
Which I believe I can do is sort of 6 hours riding a day, and you're gonna have the odd day you're gonna get held up at a border. Very probably gonna have 1 or 2 days where you get sick. I think it'd be wishful thinking to expect to get all the way through Africa without it. But also the route that I'm looking at, with the greatest respect, I'm not sounding blasé here. It's a quick route, if you know what I'm saying. In terms of you're not going through the Andes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it that's going to be pretty flat.
Yeah.
and you'll be able to crack on and bang some miles out as long as your body and your equipment can take it. And the road is not as corrugated as what people think.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying. From what I'm reading, and I've spoken to people who have done it, you know, it is almost tar the whole way.
Yeah.
So it's I'm hoping not to be pushing sort of too much. It's going to be, you know, banging out the miles.
Sure.
At a decent speed. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your route going to be?
Egypt, Sudan, obviously avoiding South Sudan. That's a non-starter. Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Zambia, possibly into Malawi. I'm not quite sure yet. And then Botswana, and then back into South Africa.
Okay, great.
And then sort of Gaborone, Joburg, and then down to Cape Town. Yeah. So looking at, roughly speaking, about 12,000 kilometers. Yeah. So a little bit shorter than last time, but a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if you as you come into Joburg, you just join the back of the queue for 94.7 and you just carry on.
Something like that. Yeah.
Get the timing right.
Something like that. Yeah. If you time it right. Yeah.
And then so you're doing this trip. You're going to get some sponsors, and so what are you going to do along the way to let people know how it's going? And
I'm going to be blogging. I'm going to be blogging. Obviously, I've got a Facebook page. I've got Instagram. So obviously, those will be more literally instant that I can do. And then I want to document it in a blog that, as I say, is interesting for people. I think everyone's got perceptions. It was interesting, the number of people that I met in Colombia and Honduras and places where pretty recently there's been a lot of gunfire and a lot of people getting shot and things. And you tell me from Johannesburg, and they just shake their head and say, "Wow, how do you live there?" You know, Africa does have this perception of being a terrible place, and I don't believe it's as terrible as what people believe it to be.
Yeah.
And you know, people said I was crazy to go to South America, and a lot of doom and gloom merchants. I'm not trying to prove anybody wrong, but I did it. You know? And I believe it will be the same in Africa.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm well aware of the risks from you know, you've got to ride through the desert for starters. You know, there's real challenges there, but from a people point of view, I'm looking forward to meeting people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking forward to meeting people. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I like meeting people.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the same thing when I was chatting to Kinga. She was also saying that she didn't really want to come into Africa because of the stuff that she had heard before.
Yeah.
Now that she's been in South Africa,
yeah,
she doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
She's saying that she's probably going to spend the next 18 months to 2 years in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, she was just, she was amazed at how pleasant the people are, how friendly the people are. She said, because, I mean, you know, with a big motorcycle, she's a woman. You know, sometimes she gets stuck in sand, the bike falls over or whatever. Everyone's willing to help, get you going again and all that kind of stuff.
It's the same everywhere. When I was told, I remember when I was in America, I was in California. I think it was my last day in California, and you're going to go to Oregon next. And the guys, the old boy, I was at a petrol station just having something to drink, and this old boy comes to me. He says, "Oh, you're heading south?" I said, "No, I'm heading north." And he looked at me. His eyes went. He says, "You're going to Oregon?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to Oregon." He said, "Boy, you better be careful there." He said, "Those hillbillies in those pickup trucks, they're going to ride you off the road, boy." He said, "Best you hitchhike your way through there, my boy." And
Really?
he was genuinely, and he was, I think we were maybe 10 miles away from the border. And you get to Oregon, and the people are just friendly as everywhere else I've been. You know what I mean? It's just the way we are.
Yeah.
It's just the way we are. I don't know. And it just, the more we talk about it, the more it happens, the more people believe it, you know? And, and when you actually go there, it's just not the case.
Yeah. And I mean, I would imagine people that see you riding on a bicycle, and if they happen to ask you where you're from, there must be some sort of level of respect, because I mean, a lot of people would love to do that, but are too scared to do that. And then they see someone doing it, and they just want to know, okay, what's your story? Where you from?
That's it. People always want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, and I when I first thought about the Cairo thing, I seriously looked at trying to break the world record for a 50-year-old man to do the Cairo to Cape Town. And then I started looking at the mileage and things. And I thought, if I go for this, I won't have time to talk to anyone. Do you know what I mean? I literally won't have time to talk to anyone. And I thought, no, I don't want the world record that bad. Maybe I wouldn't even get the world record, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want to even go.
So
for
you
the
don't
world
even want
record.
to put that on that trip.
I want to be finish riding at 1 o'clock, have a shower,
Yeah.
and be able to sit down and have a chat with someone,
Sure.
and then get on my bike tomorrow and ride again, and that's what I'm looking for on this trip.
Oh, that's great.
It's going to be hard, but yeah, I still want to talk to people.
Yeah.
Still want to talk to people.
That's great. So let me think, is there anything else that we need to chat about that would be interesting? We covered everything from your trip.
Yeah, just as long as if you're going to invite me back when I'm
Of course.
when I'm back here. Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about that. So you're going to be traveling, you're going to be blogging.
Yes.
You're going to be letting everyone know about what your progress is. You're going to take a cell phone with you.
Yeah.
And laptop or just the cell phone? And
Previously, I just had I had on my last trip.
Okay.
Just a cell phone, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe a small laptop.
Yeah. And what was like in your South America trip or that last trip that you did? What was the sort of internet connectivity like, coverage-wise?
Very good.
Was
very
it
good?
very
Yeah,
good?
yeah, it really surprised me.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you get to the isolated parts of the Andes, there's nothing. A lot of Bolivia, there was nothing. But yeah, better than I thought. Really was
Okay.
better than I thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
we it's and I'm hoping Africa will be similar.
Yeah. It'll be good. So even if you're on your way and you happen to get into a internet cafe or something, or you get good connectivity, you must communicate, and maybe we can do a
fantastic
conversation on the phone or WhatsApp or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we can fill people in on how you're doing, and we can post that.
I'd love to do that. Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
Cool.
And obviously, if people want to follow me, Instagram is Team Pie Tours, one word, and Facebook. I've also got a Facebook page I've started now, Team Pie Tours, PIE, Team Pie Tours.
Cool.
So yeah.
So I'll put everything in the show notes, and people will be able to find it.
Yeah, and
That's
it'd be cool to have a chat on the way down and have a chat.
Yeah,
when we get here again. I
absolutely.
really appreciate it, Andrew. Thank
Well,
you.
definitely when you get here,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
But if you got good connectivity, then we can set something up, and we can fill people in on how you're doing.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, Andy, thanks so much for coming on the podcast,
Thank you very much.
and good luck with your trip.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See you again. Cheers. Cool. That was nice.
Was that right?
Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool, man.
I can talk all day. Mate. That's a problem. I like talking.
Yeah. So sometimes my brain goes a little bit funny. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, cool.
But there's another thing just came to my head about talking to people. I was in Colombia, and I was approaching Cartagena, and I'm riding, and it was hot. It was so hot, and this English lad pulled up alongside me, and I had a South African flag on the back. On the back of it. So he's on his tri-bars on an ultra light bike.
Yeah.
And gets chatting, and he's an English lad, and he was trying to break the world record from the tip of South America to Cartagena at the top of in Colombia. And I said, "Listen, mate," I said, "it's always nice to chat to an Englishman. He's from the north of England as well."
Yeah.
And I said, "Listen, mate, I know you've got a world record to beat here." I said, "But this is as fast as I go." I said, "You better crack on, because this thing doesn't go any quicker."
Yeah.
And he says, no. He said, what happened? When he was in Peru, north of Peru, he'd started riding that morning at 5 o'clock, and it was midnight when he rolled into this town. And he went over a speed bump, and there was a pothole on the other side. And he hit it, and the bike snapped. It was a carbon bike, and snapped. So he did a bit of crowdfunding, and they got 500 quid together. His mate flew out from England with another bike, met him in Lima, carried on. But he'd bust his shoulder, so he'd still have a week off. So he lost the world record. But I said to him, I said, how good's your Spanish? He said, oh, not at all. He said, but it doesn't matter, because I said I haven't spoken to anyone. Do you know what I'm saying? And that
because of the
mission,
yeah,
head
sure.
down. Whereas when I get to a petrol station, someone comes over. I could be there for an hour. I could literally spend an hour at a petrol station having a chat to someone. The security guard, he's got a pump action shotgun. I could chat with him for 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. And that's when I think I told you there. I mentioned the 50 plus world record, and and I thought, no, I don't want to. I think also I'm going to put myself under pressure in terms of my health. If I get behind it, then I'm going to be riding more hours. And I thought, no, whoa,
but I mean, that's not the purpose. The purpose is you.
It's a challenge. It's going to be hard. I'm not going to dawdle along and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be. I'd like to have it. Like I said, I'd like to have time to have a Skype chat and a.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
And that's what I like. It's not all about world record or whatever. It's not. It's yeah. I like talking to people. That's what I do. Yeah.
So I'm going to record this quickly, just because we can. So like when you're riding through South America, like how many people did you meet that were doing the same kind of thing as you? You just spoke about You told me about the guy that was trying to do the world record.
Yeah.
I mean, did you meet other people?
It was interesting from Brazil all the way through Uruguay until you get to the west of Argentina, which is Mendoza. Sorry. I met 2.
Okay.
And then once you start going, you're on the Pan Am Highway now, basically. And then you start to meet them. And I met a lot from there until I got to Panama. I met a lot in sort of that section of South America, a lot, every day.
Like cycling on bikes.
On cycling on bikes.
Cycling on bikes.
Mainly people go north to south, and I was going south to north, so I crossed paths with a lot. When I got to Central America, it was supposed to be rainy season. So there were very few, because it should have been rain, and it wasn't. Luckily for me, it didn't rain like it was supposed to. And then when I reached America, there was hundreds, because that stretch from Vancouver down to basically LA or even the border there, they don't like to go much further into Mexico.
Yeah.
They like that American stretch. So in America, I met a lot as well.
Yeah. That's interesting, because it's just dawned on me. There's a woman, like a work colleague. She works in Toronto.
Okay.
And I've just realized that she's actually just ridden through Colombia as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just remember seeing her photos.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. It looked amazing.
I was there in Colombia this time last year. I was there. The Tour of Colombia bicycle race was on, and Nero Quintana, Team Sky were there, and the Colombians dominated it because it's so early in the season. But Colombia, everywhere I went in South America, football was number 1.
Yeah.
Which you expect. Number 2 in Colombia is cycling, road cycling. They're fanatical about it. Yeah. So to be there on a bicycle for the Tour of Colombia in Medellin was one of the highlights
amazing.
of my
Yeah.
trip. Yeah, it was amazing.
And then did that just happen by chance, or
No.
or did you?
I found out on the way. I found out, and I thought, right, let's push on and get there.
Okay,
and that's what I
great.
did with a few things, a few sporting events. I sort of did that.
Yeah.
Sort of pushed on. It gave me reason to push on, if you know what I mean, to the next sort of. I know you're a motorcyclist. I went to Laguna Seca
Oh, nice.
for the superbikes.
Oh, wow.
And it's the first time I've watched motorcycle racing, and that Laguna Seca, that was them lads have got testicles the size of jeez, big lads. That was a great experience as well. Yeah.
So, like on my bucket list would be the Isle of Man. Go watch a TT, because that, like for me, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
That those guys can go so fast on those bikes.
Yeah, I'll get there one day as well. Maybe see you.
What, on the bicycle?
Yeah, we'll get a motorcycle. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, cool. Just wanted to grab that. There was one of the questions I wanted to ask about other people that you met. Because, I mean, that Kinga was telling me that it's amazing how many people she meets is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't realize how many people are doing it.
That's it. Yeah, like I said. And look, in South Africa, it is really is a minority, you know. And that's the sad thing, because we've got the country to do it. You know, we've got the roads, we've got the campsites. You can, you know, we've got everything here. But it's chicken and the egg. People are scared to do it, so no one does it. Yeah. You know, if people did it, people would do it. But at the moment, it's the wrong way around. No one's doing it, so no one does it. Yeah. It's. I don't know.
Like almost like a contagious kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know how you break the mold. You know. Yeah. And yeah.
Because I mean, like often, like I say, if I want to go overseas, then if I do an overseas trip, what I want to do is I've got to do a motorcycle ride. Which is great. Yeah. That's what I want to do. Just pretty expensive. Yeah. But then you think you've got so much beautiful country on your doorstep that you almost like say, well, actually, let me rather travel around this country first. Yeah. Because like I was planning to do a New Zealand trip. Should have actually been there now. Yeah. But when I worked out, it was going to cost me 70 grand. Yeah. To go and do that trip for 2 weeks. Yeah. You know what I can do for 70 grand in South Africa? Yeah. Exactly. Take a couple of months off.
Exactly. No, and that's it. As I say, if you've done South Africa, that's great. I mean, like I said, I rode every province in South Africa before this one. I did Swaziland. I did Lesotho before I did this one. And yeah, I'm coming back now to do another. What is it going to be? I'm not even working out. 2,500 Ks by the time I'm from Gaborone, come across to Joburg down. I'm sure it must be touching 2.5K. Yeah. Another 2.5K. And I'm looking forward to it. It's not, it's not been anticlimax. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, sure. That's great.
The Karoo, you know, it's real. Absolutely, it's a real challenge. And
that's the temptation I found with the motorcycle. Okay, I know the bicycle's different. With the motorcycle is that you get on that bike and you get into a groove. Yeah. And it's like too much effort to stop, take the photo, take in the view. You know, you like sitting on the highway at 140.
Yeah.
You know, you can get somewhere quickly.
Yeah.
I've had to like rein myself in a bit when it comes to that kind of thing.
I used to, when I was racing my bikes, we used to do a training ride from Joburg to Durban. We had a minibus and things like that and back up. So you had nothing. You didn't carry anything on a bike.
Yeah.
And we used to do it in 4 days. And then when I did it on my bicycle tour one year, I rode from home down to Durban. I took 10 days. And it was an entirely different route.
Yeah.
It was an entirely you know what I'm saying? It wasn't,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But it was an entirely different route because of the speed and the leisure and the stopping and the, you know.
Yeah, there's no, you haven't put that pressure on yourself.
It was like being on a different route, although I'd ridden that route many times on a bicycle even. But doing it so slowly was an entirely different experience.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I'm slightly, I'm starting to, the more people that I speak to that have done these kind of things, I'm like, holy shit, I've got to do my...
Actually, these were printed in Colombia. I had business cards and I had stickers made in Colombia. But there's my blog and
cool.
my Instagram.
That's great. I'll use that stuff for the show notes.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, there you have it. We definitely wish Andy all the best for his trip, and I will definitely bring you up to speed on his progress as he cycles down through Africa. So all the links are in the show notes. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and also send your thoughts through on this episode and the podcast in general. And that, my friends, is the end. I'll catch you next time.